A new political PAC is working to increase the number of progressive working-class women in office. Matriarch was started by two former candidates for political office. The PAC provides endorsements, infrastructure, and financial support to women who couldn't otherwise fund a campaign. Joining us now to discuss why this organization is so important at this time are founders of Matriarch, Amy Vilela. She ran for Congress in Nevada in 2018, and Nomiki Konst, former candidate for public advocate in New York. She also served as a surrogate for Bernie Sanders in 2016. Ladies, great to see you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, Nomi, tell me, what was the inspiration here? What was the problem that you saw that you wanted to solve?
Well, the inspiration, this actually was an idea that formed a couple years ago, and because all of the founders, there's over 36 women involved in this project. All of them are working women, activists, organizers. Some are in office, some have been, ran for office, have been elected to office. We're all busy. But
Right.
This election, we realized it was super important to have infrastructure support for working class women that have been inspired to run after Trump, after seeing great leaders get elected to Congress like the Squad. But there's some institutional challenges that working class grassroots candidates face, and most of them have to do with finances. Can you raise a certain amount of money before an organization pays attention to you or considers you for endorsement? Or are these women running on a platform that we think is more relatable to everyday Americans, an economic justice platform? And really, we all thought it was important to talk about issues of feminism from that lens.
Right.
There was a lot of conversation being left out, and when women are on the front lines of economic injustice, it's important to have them out there fighting for these issues and supporting them along the way.
I think that is so well said. And Amy, speak to that. People came to know you in the Knock Down the House documentary, which has met with much acclaim and really gave like an on-the-ground look at what it looks like to run for office as the outsider, as the working class woman. What is that experience like? What were the barriers? What things surprised you?
Well, when we all ran this in 2018 across the nation, there was an insurgency of women who were running for the first time from working class backgrounds. What we didn't have was the institutional knowledge or the support systems in place that actually help us rise up and meet the challenge of running for Congress. It was the pushback that, who are you? Why are you running? What qualifications do you have?
Right. Meaning, who's in your Rolodex?
Right.
How much money can you raise?
Exactly.
That's the translation of that comment.
It was funny, and I always used to say, for women, automatically my qualifications are having to raise a family in this system, being a single mother, actually having that struggle, trying to put myself through college, and in the meantime, making less than my male counterparts and supporting a family with that. So there was a lot of experiences we had personally that really spoke to why we should be in Congress. But it was the lack of support from the outside that was very hard.
Right.
Knowing what we're going to face, knowing that someone's in our corner, that these are the steps to actually have a successful campaign. Those things weren't available really for us in 2018. It was really the testing ground for us to learn how to run progressive campaigns.
Right. Nomi, one of the things that is interesting to me is, the Democratic Party, of which you and I have both been critics of.
Really?
I don't think that will surprise anyone. Their way of picking which candidate to back is literally, this is like actually the process, to go through your phone and see what rich donors and potential money you could raise based on your contact list. And then that is one of the key criteria, like how much can you raise, not what are the ideas, not what's the talent, what's the message, what do you bring to the district, like who are your rich friends, or do you have money yourself?
That's right.
What you're proposing is a very different model, a potentially transformational model of the type of candidates and the type of representation that people have. The question is, have you been in dialogue with the party itself, and how do they feel about this approach?
Not yet. Listen, there are a lot of women in this project who actually, I should go back. We do have women in this project who are involved in the Democratic Party at state levels, whether it's Arizona or Nebraska. There are some members of Congress who are involved in the party. I think this has been a conversation, a space that has been open for a while, and the conversation around why is it that viability is set by, can you raise $250,000 in 3 months before we even look at you? You know, that's not who the Democratic Party is. It's not who they were 35 years ago. And if we want to have a real conversation about healthcare, if we want to have a real conversation about labor rights, if we want to have a real conversation about criminal justice reform, climate justice, we need to elect people and support women who are dealing with those issues on a daily basis. And I think ultimately there are people in the party who are concerned with these issues. It's not all of the party. It may not be the folks who are steering the wheels in D.C., but there are definitely folks out there across the country who are state party chairs, like Jane Klebb, who's on our board of advisors, or Brianna Westbrook, who's a vice chair in Arizona, who believe in this mission and believe that more women who look like America, sound like America, are involved in their communities and are recognized in their communities for their work. They should be the ones who are getting that early support because, as you know, you've been a candidate and you, of course, know, it's those first few months that are the hardest.
Critical. Oh, absolutely. That first, when you yourself are uncertain and having your own, because that's, I guess, part of the issue here is the financial part is real, right? Very real. I mean, I worked with Randy Bryce, right? I worked with Richard Ojeda, like just figuring out how is this going to work with the income that I have and what I have in the bank and managing work obligations. I worked with people who still held on to their full-time jobs as teachers while they were running for Congress, right? All of that. But there's also a cultural barrier, which is in some ways equally as hard, which is if you're a working class person, you've been basically told by the culture your whole life that you are not a leader, that you are not leadership material. And not only has everyone around you absorbed that messaging, but a lot of times you yourself have internalized that messaging. How do you sort of break down that cultural piece and make it so that, yes, we see AOC as a leader, yes, we see the waitress, the service worker, the retail worker as a leader?
You know, that is really a great point because even as I was running, I know that there was constant pushback on that, and we do have that internal message, right? That we're not from the right pedigree. That, you know, especially I know in my age group and women even continuously today, we were always told, you know, be there and support the men who are actually running things, right? Have a seat. And I remember one of my opponents even telling me, you know, Amy, you don't have to run. I got this. So, you know, we get that constant message.
Thanks for that.
Right.
That's amazing.
But, you know, we get that constant message from society. We get it from our family. We get it from all different areas. But so having, you know, an organization that's actually here saying, no, we want you to run and we're going to support you, and that you do have a seat at that table. You have a voice. I mean, I think that's something that really hit me as I was running through this, that yes, we do have a voice, but we need different organizations to support us and to help us find our way through that. Yeah. Because developing that narrative and being able to speak to your power and your strength is a process. And doing it on your own takes a lot longer than if you have a supportive sisterhood behind you that is helping you find that voice. And actually having people to call when you have those moments where you're like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm scared. And having those people there with you, it's going to be amazing for anyone who's able to be a part of this.
And if I can just make one more point on this line, organizations out there are almost solely focused on electing candidates that will be a good return on investment. Is this candidate, can they raise the money to hire our consultants? Is their race winnable? And by winnable, we mean, the investment that we're going to put into this race, are we going to win it? We believe that there are areas of the country that have not been invested in for the last 30 years by the Democratic Party. Yeah. We want to invest in women who are progressive, who are courageous, who stand up for economic justice, who represent their communities. And if they don't win the first time around, that's okay. Sometimes it takes 3 times, 4 times. That's what statistics say. But every time that woman runs, they're sharing that message with their community. They're inspiring other women to run so that those women are equipped. And we're building this sisterhood and offering advice, not just finances, but advice along the way, a different type of training that's geared towards grassroots candidates, and the validation. Because when you're doing this for the first time, an endorsement means press. Right. Press means donations. And by the way, if you would like to give,
what is the website? Tell us what the website is.
It's matriarchpac.com. The money that we raise, we want to build this organization to support candidates. So we're going to be allocating resources to candidates, and of course allocating training and other forms of support that other organizations aren't providing.
Well, I think it's a really important idea, and that long-term focus, I think, is this narrow focus focus on just what seat can we win this year is exactly how we've lost most of the country.
Yes.
Ladies, great to see you both.
Thank
Congrats.
you, Crystal. Thank you.
And we'll have more Rising after this.